signal now for when I'm needed. But when that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning. To them.
Home country of Canada, the United States. I know that there's a lot within California, Virginia, New York, and I know I'm missing a few states. I know Washington is another, and then there's those out in Saudi Arabia, China, and the UK. Oh, and the other state was Virginia. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, you can catch all news episodes anywhere you listen to podcasts. So if you want to follow along and see what we're doing, feel free to follow me at X/Twitter at Beyond Bat Signal. That is correct. There's no the. It's just at Beyond Bat Signal. And if you like what we're doing, feel free. Consider dropping us 5 stars, rate and review on any platform that you get your podcast, such as Apple and Spotify. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, shoot me an email at beyondthebatsignal@gmail.com. They're always welcome. One other thing. So if you do leave 5-star rating and you do, I guess just leave a rating, whether it's in Spotify or it's on Apple Podcasts, it will be read on the show. Now, with that being said, today I wanted to review Joker Folie A Deux, and I wasn't going to review it. I was actually going to review Penguin episode 3, but that's going to probably drop within the next couple of days. And I wanted to talk about this polarizing movie because I went to go see it with my siblings, my wife, and my brother-in-law. And I'm looking at the reviews, and a lot of them negative. So, full disclosure here, okay? I love the first movie. It was not an easy film to watch. It was dark. It did surround itself with mental health. I was going in under the belief that this movie is still going to be under the same tone. It's still going to focus a lot more on mental health. I do believe that the Joker name, the Joker look is almost like it's just there just to kind of get more publicity, more fans out and be engaged. That was my belief, okay? And I watched this movie, and I guess there's going to be no spoilers, and then I'll drop the spoiler wall and then go spoilers. And I'm not sure how long this is going to go. I don't anticipate this being a long review, but let's see. So, this movie is a musical, and a lot of the reviews were saying, well, you know what, they should have given people the heads up. And I think that the way that they incorporated the musical aspects was intelligent. Arthur Fleck, as we know, is revisited, and he does meet Lee Quinn. So they don't call her Harley. It's just Lee Quinn. And, she plays a supporting role. So I'm looking at the reviews, and this is my take, okay? Let's start with, I guess, the negatives. Lady Gaga as Lee Quinn. And it's not her acting. She actually did a phenomenal job with what she was given. I actually really enjoyed what she did. I just don't think she was given enough. Okay? I believe that she has the acting chops to do a lot more. And I feel like her range is very broad, and she's very capable as an actress to lead a film, as we've seen her do. Now, in this movie, she was given a role that I anticipated would be bigger, but felt very small and was almost like you could have gotten someone else to do this or just anybody, because I don't know, I feel like there was so much room for Harley's character to do more. The other one was Joaquin Phoenix. Again, another stellar performance. But, what for him, the story does surround him. And I would say that it was the third act is something where I'm like, do I like it or do I not like it? And my thing is like, I think with the third act, because like a lot of the film takes, I guess my criticism is like the scenes either take place in Arkham Asylum, or there's those like little dream sequences, which kind of are the musical parts, which were beautifully shot. And then there's the courtroom. And I feel like that was it, And that's, I guess, my criticism about the movie. Overall, I enjoyed this film. I didn't love it, but I liked it. And this was a deep dive, a character study, but from a different perspective, which was, you look at it, but how society has failed people with mental illness in the 80s in the first film. And then this is how society fails mental illness within an asylum or an institution. And that was my understanding. That's what I got from it. A lot of people that I guess aren't around this area, I feel like it kind of went over their heads, but correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free. But myself, I'm like, I hear a lot of criticisms about like people not knowing that this was a musical. And my whole family that came, they're all general audience. They had an idea that this was going to be a musical, especially because Lady Gaga was in it. They thought that there was too many musical aspects that weren't necessary or went too long, which I agreed with. But I think there was I guess that was the negative aspect. But when it comes to how this film was shot, it was absolutely beautiful. Like, Todd Phillips did an incredible job directing this film. Parts of it, I thought, were weak, right? Like Lady Gaga's character, the way she was portrayed, it was almost like she was just cheering Joker on. She was almost like his own cheerleader, but that was it. And going into the film, I thought, she would have such a substantial role. The ending, I thought I kind of knew where this was going. But I don't know. That was the only thing where I'm like, I'm still unsure of. And I think that's with a lot of people. Now, I don't have the opportunity to give it a rotten tomato or a fresh tomato, but if it was me, I'd give it a fresh tomato. My rating would probably be a 6.5 or 7 out of 10, right? And that's only because I feel like there was so much more to explore. When I saw what Joker made over the weekend, and it was 37 million. The Rotten Tomatoes was at something like 33%. And the audience score was I think it was a D, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm like, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't feel right. And I don't know why. I thought that, especially in the first two-thirds of the film, they had me hooked and engaged. But there is at one point where Arthur kind of just takes over the courtroom. And then I'm kind of like, okay, that doesn't jive with me. There are some parts that were cut because it's coming out now that a lot of shots that Lady Gaga took were cut out. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. And I think the biggest disappointment for myself was the role of Harley Quinn in the film, the role of Lady Gaga, because it wasn't even necessary for her to be in it, to be honest. Like it wasn't. And that's what the greatest disappointment was for me. I thought that they could have done a lot more to explore her character and given her a lot more opportunity. I don't know. But I did like this film. Now, this spoiler wall is going to come down, and we're going to go full spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Full spoilers are ahead. So, with this film, we get, I think it's a bit more Joker, to be honest, based on what we see. They do an excellent job as to, so a lot of the sequences that we see that go into musicals are almost like dream sequences or fantasies for Arthur, right? His mind just kind of drifts off, and all of a sudden, there's a lot where he's with Lee, and they fantasize about it singing, and I actually dug it, right? There's at one point where, Zaza Beetz, she comes and then she's talking about her mom, his mom, Arthur's mom, and how she can't believe that, the mom was always telling Arthur that he was special and he had a unique laugh that made him special, and that she couldn't believe that he bought it. And all of a sudden, again, his head goes into a fantasy, but not so much a fantasy, but drifts off and it becomes a musical. And he gets really upset and almost felt betrayed. And it seems like whenever there was something wrong that happens, he began to fantasize or write, right? And a lot of it had to do with Lee. And I loved it. I loved the way it was shot. I thought that was so smart because it's almost like his own escape. Arthur, where Arthur loses, I think the movie loses some momentum is when he starts to take over the court case. So he fires his defense attorney, and then he's like, I'm going to take over. And it kind of got silly in certain parts. Like he starts doing random accents, random voices, begins mimicking Puddles, and I get why. Where in Puddle, that point where it's kind of driven home, where Puddles is like, "You're the only one nice to me," and then you see him Arthur's just making fun of him in his accent, right? And I like that, but there could have been more, right? So Lady Gaga was often sitting behind Arthur. There was at a point where she's talking to him about well, actually, it's revealed from the defense attorney that Lady Gaga's character Harley checked herself in and then checked herself out of prison just to be close to Arthur. So she was an admirer, and to keep him around and keep him engaged, she says something like, "I'm pregnant with your baby," and he's like, "Oh my God," right? Obviously, but that's never explored anymore. It's only talked about once. And I'm like, okay, I feel like they dropped the ball there. And then they have scenes where with Lady Gaga that she's sitting behind Arthur during the court case and kind of being, again, like I said, his cheerleader. And when Arthur comes out and he just or Joker comes out and admits, I killed those people, all 6 of them, and I'm not Joker, I'm Arthur Fleck, right away, she almost just turns. So Harley kind of looks at him as, this whole time she's saying, no, you're Joker, you're Joker. And he kind of comes to this realization that, no, I'm not, I'm Arthur Fleck. And she kind of just gets up and leaves. That's it. She goes back to where the place that actually he used to live, and she's going up those steps, those iconic steps that you see in Joker 1, and that's it. There's nothing to it. She just kind of walks out, and there's a scene of her with a gun pointing to her head, And it's almost like life is over. This person that she admired, it's done, right? And then it cuts right back to Joker. So we don't know. We're left hanging like, okay, what happened? What happened? What happened? But like, you know, you have Arthur Fleck completely removing the makeup. He's calling Lee, trying to sing a song. And then it comes down to the verdict where he's found guilty. And then obviously his supporters that are waiting outside completely destroy the courtroom. It's blown to pieces. It almost looks like there was a car bomb. And then you get like a nice little look at Harvey Dent, who's also in the movie. And you can see just by, I guess, like it's a quick shot. So you look, he's in the background, but his face is, to quote The Dark Knight, blown half to hell. And yeah, there's some significant scarring there. And so that was kind of cool. But Arthur kind of just wakes up and then he tries to escape. He has these Joker lookalikes who are like, hey, you're Joker. So they put him in a car, try to drive him, and then Arthur just kind of escapes the car, and he goes up those steps to go find Lee. And he finds her, and she's just like, no, we're done. That is it for her, right? Cops come, and they get Arthur, they put him back in prison. And that's my criticism, is like, it takes place in prison. He's done nothing in those 2 years. He sees Lee and then goes to court and tries to, I guess, nothing really substantial happens. But my biggest thing that I actually liked was the character study of it, because you're looking at people that have mental health within the institution and what goes on within the institution from a cop's perspective and from someone like Joker's perspective, how people are treated if they speak out, right? All the rebel that goes on within, right? All the noise. And another thing, I've never seen so much cigarette smoking in a movie. It's incredible how much cigarette smoking there is. It's more than enough to fill up like 20 movies from the 80s. It's incredible. Anyway, going back. So Arthur's brought back into jail, and then the guard says, hey, listen, there's someone here to see you. And we're not sure who it is or if that's a setup. But there's a guy who they kind of show near the beginning of the film, and he just looks dead evil. And he's slightly if you look up the picture, I'm sure you can look it up. Anyway, he tells Arthur a joke, and the punchline was, you get what you deserve. The same punchline that Arthur uses when he shoots Murray Franklin. And then all of a sudden, this guy starts stabbing the living crap out of Arthur. And Arthur just drops dead. And then you see the killer, who kind of resembles Heath Ledger's Joker at this point, cuts his mouth into the Glasgow smile. So you know how, like, from Heath Ledger, he has like those scars. Well, the guy does it, and he cuts his mouth. And it's in the background. It's easy to miss, but the camera follows Arthur dropping to the ground and then just dying. And that's the end of the film. And, you know, the theater went quiet, and it was just, you could hear a pin drop. It was dark. It didn't make me feel good, I doubt it would. It shouldn't. It's not supposed to. But we were all just in shock. We couldn't believe what happened. Almost sad, because you see the character of Arthur Fleck die. And, you know, I firmly believe that, listen, this is not a Batman movie. Not whatsoever. So people going in, this is not a Batman film. This is a different take from a different director. And people need to understand that. Right? And that's the beauty about DC, is that you can get filmmakers such as Todd Phillips going in to completely do something way different that we expect. That's why it's called an Elseworlds tale, and getting a take. And it's like very creative. You know, to make it a musical and to make it the way that they did, I feel like the movie's getting misunderstood. And I'm I'm not sure why it's getting the criticism that it is. But listen, everyone is to each their own. Like, movies are supposed to be subjective, and we're allowed to have opinions, right? And I don't think we should be hating on it. But I think from my point of view is people are upset at what they just watched. And I'm like, look at it from a psychological perspective as to what he's enduring at each moment, right? The second that he walks out of his cell, or the second that he's getting some sort of attention from a female, and automatically he lights up and he's feeling life and he's feeling that brim of confidence again, right? And, he made one slight connection with Zazie Beetz' character in the first film, and all of a sudden, like, he gets like all these little fantasies, which he was getting at the beginning, but about how great his life could be. And then he gets more attention from Harley Quinn, and again, he was just in a happy place. And he did get a lot more attention because he had a lot of admirers. I'm not sure if that was all real or not, but it felt like it was. And I don't think there was a lot of scenes that were up in question like the first film was. I don't know. This film leaves me with definitely just, I'm probably going to watch this movie again. I'm not sure if I'm going to go to the theater to see it. I recommend that you do, because I'm curious about your opinion. I am curious about, like, one thing is for sure, the way this film is shot is so beautiful. You can't take that away. And like, there's some ridiculous claims of like Todd Phillips, wanted Joker to die. He totally phoned it in, and just like, and it's like screw a middle finger to DC. I highly doubt that was the case. Saw claims that, Lady Gaga just needs to give up, but she didn't do a bad job. You know what I mean? Like, based on what she was given, she did an excellent job. She's an excellent actress. And, for Joaquin, there's rumors that he was trying to walk out, quit. Like, he was quitting, I think it was like 5 days before the film began. Shooting began. And again, like, he's known for that, though. But yeah, this is a film that I can see why it's polarizing. I don't understand why it's getting the hate that it is, because it is clever. The way the actors are, they did an excellent job. They brought their A game. The way it's shot, excellent. The story is dark. It's grim. It's not supposed to be a happy tale. This is a focus on a mental health, but from a different perspective. I love the sequences from the musical aspect, and people, if you don't like musicals, you may not like this movie, and people should know that going in. And I feel like it was misunderstood from that perspective, and I don't think people are really grasping it from the perspective that of a mental health point of view. I don't know. Maybe you are. I don't know. Right? Listening to some movie reviews, from general audience, it seems like the audience score is pretty low. Maybe people were expecting Batman, and that's the issue, is like, no, this is not a Batman film. This is a Joker film. And in all honesty, it's really not a Joker film either. This doesn't belong in DC. This has nothing to do with it. You see one small clip of Wayne Tower, whoop-de-doo. You have Harvey Dent in there, whoop-de-doo. But this is really much of a movie about mental health. So, I don't know. Very curious as to what you guys think about this movie, if you've seen it. I actually liked it. Again, I'm probably going to say it's a 7 out of 10 for me. Or 3.5 out of 5 stars. Whatever. Curious what you guys think. Feel free to shoot me a comment. Open to hearing different perspectives. I'm trying to really recall as to what other reviewers were thinking or saying, because like I really did feel strongly, like I disagreed. Like, $37 million opening weekend is terrible. Yeah. And especially because they put $200 million into this film, a big portion of it goes to the actors. In my head, what's disappointing is I don't know where a lot of that money went, because the film, the way it was shot, it wasn't filmed like in so many places. There wasn't a lot of CGI in it, at least from what I saw. Anyways, I feel like I have rambled on long enough. I've shared that I did like this movie. Very curious as to how you feel about the film. Again, shoot me an email at beyondthebatsignal@gmail.com or hit me a comment at beyondbatsignal on X/Twitter. But that is my review of Joker Folie A Deux. This is Beyond the Bat Signal signing off.